Hello and welcome back to the Cove Cast. My name is Scott Rapiselli,
And I'm Chad, everyone's favorite Dodger fan.
and we're getting right into things here. Juan Soto is officially out on the Giants. Not the other way around because, we would have loved to be in that conversation. But according to Ken Rosenthal, Soto has been narrowing his teams down, and the Giants are no longer one of them.
Yeah, I see some of his contract negotiations are reaching near $600 million. Personally, I don't think that he is worth that much, especially as a player. Tani did sign for $700 million, and that did break a lot of records and turn a lot of heads. With some of the largest baseball contracts ever. But again, he was a $35 million hitter and a $35 million pitcher, and that's why he was paid $700 million or $70 million a year. Juan Soto obviously doesn't have the other half of that $35 million, and isn't exactly up to is he worth $400 million? Yes, but not 600. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not Shohei Ohtani. He's not going to get to 700. I think the only reason it's even got into the 600s is because he's using teams, or maybe not him, but Scott Boras is using other teams as pawns to raise the negotiations. You saw Boras do this with Ohtani last year in the Blue Jays, and you're seeing it again this year. Reports have come out that the Blue Jays might be the highest bidder on Juan Soto this year, coming in with the largest contract offer. So they're doing the exact same thing as when Ohtani was seen leaving on a flight to Canada last year. So,
Well, someone else, I'm not going to mention, another team was also seen to have signed a big ticket player, but we don't mention them. The Giants. Sorry.
yeah, we don't like arson over here. I don't really like talking about fire, so yeah, I want to move on from that. But Juan Soto is a generational type of player. He's, in my opinion, the best hitter in Major League Baseball. I've said that before. I'll say it again. I stand by it. And with a guy like him, he's going to go where he feels comfortable and where they're going to pay him a lot of money. And I think the threshold has gotten to, hey, he's going to be fine with the number amount. It's just where he'll feel the most comfortable.
Yeah, I also want to predict kind of where he's going to go to. This is my unbiased opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up going to the Dodgers because Dodgers are big ticket spenders, especially in the offseason as of recent. But I also just wouldn't be surprised if maybe the Red Sox want to pull a trigger on, finally having a franchise outfielder because they kind of missed out on Mookie. Or maybe the Mets or maybe the Mets want to, or hey, maybe the Blue Jays actually finally want to start spending some money and invest in to that young team that they probably should have invested in a few years prior. So I don't know. Where do you think he'll go?
I think that if Soto leaves the Yankees, I think the Mets is the next best thing. And they might even just be the best thing in general. You're not going to have to. I mean, it's not a huge difference playing for the Mets and the Yankees. Obviously, Steve Cohen is going to come with the giant checkbook, and who knows if the Yankees will be willing to match that. They should be. I'll say that. The Yankees should be willing to match that because Juan Soto is the difference between them not being a contender and being a World Series contender every single year. I think that he was the best player on their team last year, aside from Aaron Judge, and he'll be a Yankees legend if he stays there. Obviously, he had the home run in the World Series against the Dodgers. He's a known clutch performer. He's going to be super consistent. He's an on-base king. And I think that missing out on a guy like Juan Soto is going to be a real tough pill to swallow for Yankees fans if that happens. But I think he's going to go to the Mets.
Yeah, the Mets, he could go to. I wouldn't be surprised if he does stay Yankee, but again, they do have the highest payroll, and you'd be adding another high big ticket, item into your payroll and he's gonna be paid a lot more than what he was paid this season. So it's just whether or not they want to be that big spender, especially early on. because they're going to miss out on, 2027, 2028, 2029 talent, those small guys that maybe are finally clearing arbitration, aren't able to be signed, especially from their organization, just because they're going to have such a high payroll. So, maybe the Mets also too, but I don't think, even with Juan Soto, the Mets still aren't really contenders. Did they win big in order to get to the NLCS? Yeah, but also they're not a serious team to me just yet.
I think that if the Mets get Juan Soto, they're out on Pete Alonso. Now, Soto's a much better player than Pete Alonso, in my opinion. I think he has a much bigger impact on the game, and you're seeing that with the type of reports we're getting here in free agency. I think overall, if the Mets get Juan Soto, I have them as the National League, not favorite, because obviously the Dodgers are in there. Mm-hmm. The Dodgers will be the favorite, especially after adding Blake Snell, but I have them as my pick to go to the World Series out of the National League next year if they get Juan Soto.
Yeah, we'll see. The Mets also, still, this is a biased opinion, it's gonna be hard to match the Dodgers, especially after they just improved this offseason. So if you're the Mets, you might want to trade for some guys who, are bigger names, because exactly that's what the Dodgers did. The Dodgers did just get Mookie Betts. Did they win a World Series with Mookie Betts? Yes, they did. But also they went. Yeah, I'm getting to that. I'm saying, hey, they got all these players with. They added upon Freddie Freeman. You have Jack Flaherty. Of course, some of these guys were trades, but these were key pieces into them winning, another championship. And that's what they got. They got, hey, these names that they know they can produce, and that's kind of what the Mets need to do. Pete Alonso, yes, but also big bats don't do very well in the World Series and need consistent 300, hitters. Maybe guys are the right balance of power and consistency. So. That's ideally where the Mets should be headed, because Juan Soto isn't always isn't always, the solve all. There's a few issues there,
It's also good to have guys that have done it before. Soto, obviously, like you mentioned earlier, with the Nationals, he won the World Series. Like I mentioned a little bit ago with the Yankees, was in there last year contributing. He was one of the only Yankees players to contribute from the offensive side. And he looked super comfortable. He looked like he belonged there on the biggest stage. That was one of the biggest World Series we've had in the last 10 years and maybe even 20, 30 years. So Juan Soto, clutch postseason performer, and whoever gets him will be lucky. Kind of moving on, I want to talk more about the Giants. Obviously, this is a Giants podcast, so let's get into Hyeseong Kim. Yonder Alonso on MLB Network said that Hyeseong Kim should be the number one target for the Giants right now. He was talking about their shortstop vacancy a little bit, and I agree. Talks have been heating up, according to Twitter, between the Giants and Kim, but as for overall new news, I think we're in about the same spot as last week. I don't have any insider information on any negotiations and stuff like that, but it would be a step in the right direction for the Giants to move forward with this Hyeseong Kim deal.
Yeah, the Giants really should sign Hyeseong Kim. They lost out on Blake Snell, but if you get Hyeseong Kim, why not? Yeah, they need somebody. They need to pull the trigger, or else as a newly founded president of baseball operations, Buster Posey, do you want to just go, especially this early into the offseason where guys are going to be signing with teams? Juan Soto's going to be on a different team come Christmas, So it's not a good look to not really make any moves, especially this early on, especially when there are players out there, especially as a young GM, or a young, president. So, teams want to know if you're serious or not. And, teams especially want to evaluate, talent within their leagues and their divisions. And, are they going to be looking at the Giants as a contender, or do they want to look at the Giants as, you got to make those moves, got to be aggressive. Old school is not new school,
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I want the Giants to go and get this deal done before Soto signs because they're saying that Soto's going to set the market this year and that Corbin Burns might be waiting to sign until after Juan Soto signs. So if they go and get Ha-Seong Kim, they can use that as a little bit of leverage like, hey, Corbin Burns, you could be a huge part of our team. And I'll talk a little bit more about him later, but that would be a big move for the Giants for sure. The Brewers and the Tigers have been linked to Ha-Seong Kim as well. I'm not too worried about those teams. The Brewers specifically because I think that Willie Adames has a big chance of going back there. And then the Tigers, I haven't seen them linked to Kim before this past week. And I also think that Alex Bregman would be a good free agent destination in Detroit. Or Alex Bregman would be a good player to go to Detroit. I think he has bigger and better connections there. So I'm not too worried about those teams taking Kim away from the Giants.
Yeah, Alex Bregman too. He wouldn't be a bad signing. It would. He has done very well against a certain division rival in a very big stage. So I mean, why not maybe pull the trigger on him? But also you have to consider: do I want to, give a 30-year-old $300 million for the next 10 years?
They're not going to do that. We have Matt Chapman, like I said last week, and Greg Amsinger was talking about if we do sign Ha-Seong Kim, that him and Matt Chapman will be the best defensive duo on the left side of Major League Baseball. And I agree with that. Matt Chapman he's a Platinum Glove winner multiple times. It would be a great thing to have, especially for a young pitching staff. And who knows if we're going to go get the big fish in the starting pitching market. So, yeah. Speaking of guys whose initials are HS and have the last name Kim, from Korea, Hyeseong Kim, not Ha-Seong Kim, but Hyeseong Kim, Hyeseong Kim, has been posted by the Kiwoom Heroes of the Korean Baseball Organization. Hyeseong is a second baseman, and he played on the Korean national team with Ha-Seong Kim, with Tommy Edman. So he's been teammates with those guys. What do we have on Hyeseong Kim, Chad?
Hyeseong Kim, he's one of the players that we're kind of scalping them from Asia, whether it's Japan or Korea. A solid player, but he's more of a contact hitter. He doesn't hit a whole lot of home runs. And he's a good defensive guy too. Especially in Asia where baseball, where it's a lot of fundamental based. Yeah, definitely. The Giants should go after him. Why not? Why not get a big ticket item? If it's not LA, it's going to be San Diego. Those are the only two teams that are actually those are like one of the few teams that are actually getting players. That you're seeing players come from Japan. You're seeing players come from Korea. So why not? This is it. It wouldn't hurt to just have Hyeseong Kim, Jung Ho Lee. Especially we're having Korean nights. You could just add on to it.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if the Giants signed Hyeseong and Ha-Seong, but I could see Hyeseong go into the Padres and Ha-Seong go into the Giants and kind of doing a switch there. I know Padres Twitter has been getting really excited about that possibility. I saw someone recently said that they could still do the Ha-Seong Kim chants, except now it's Hyeseong Kim. So that could be a fun little tidbit to come next year, especially if they would play in the same division against each other. That could be a good storyline for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's also like a good thing to point out, especially with what the Padres are doing. If you hear any player, that's gonna get signed or something, they're in contention. Player that needs to get traded, big ticket player, So kind of like with Hyeseong Kim, you also want those. You kind of want to sign those guys, but it's also kind of cool how a lot of the Team Korea guys are in the NL West.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the Korean guys, like you said, the Japanese players, obviously, the Dodgers are Team Japan, basically, of the MLB. Munetaka Murakami said he's going to come to the MLB next year.
Whew, he's good, man.
He's the big first baseman, and I see him becoming a Dodger too. You know, we'll see. We'll talk about Roki Sasaki a little bit later, but
I mean, for 2026, Minataki Murakami could be. I would go after him if I'm. You know, I would go after him. That boy. Woo.
He's big. He's young. He's strong. He's got a lot of power in the bat.
Oh yeah, a lot of balls going into the Cove. Woo, you miss, he's gone.
Oh yeah.
that guy, yeah, he's different.
I don't want to really stress about him until next year after the Dodgers inevitably win back-to-back World Series championships.
I mean,
According to every single person on Dodgers Twitter.
Yeah, but if you have like a prime Asian Pete Alonso that you can get for $300 million, why not?
Might as well.
Might as well. You know.
Kind of backpedaling to Hyeseong Kim, he did hit 326 with 26 doubles and an 841 OPS last year. Only like 11 homers or something. Nothing.
Yeah, he's not a power guy. He's
definitely, the KBO is more of a power league than the MLB is, so that's pretty discouraging. But it does sound like he fits the typical Korean baseball player profile, like a Jung-Hoo Lee, like a Ha-Seung Kim, just a high average hitter with elite defense and speed abilities. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see him in the MLB.
Yeah, he's also hit over 300 for the past 4 seasons. You know, the one thing that does concern me is that his on-base percentage is almost on par with his batting average, you know, which seems to show me that, hey, you know, he's striking out a lot. And then also on top of that, you know, some of his balls are not falling. You know, he's kind of rolling over on a lot of pitches. You know, when you kind of want a guy with 300 that maybe has like a 400 on-base percentage, you know. Because he has his slugging percentage is high, but, you know, it's just his balls aren't making it out of the infield a whole lot. But hey, he gets on base.
It's going to be tough to translate, especially the first season in the MLB. We saw the struggles with Ha-Seong Kim. We saw the struggles with Yoshida from the Red Sox. And, yeah, I could see him blossoming into a better player as he gets used to Major League Baseball. So we'll see. Kind of moving on into another big free agent that we've been talking about the last couple weeks. Back to Corbin Burns talk here. Bay Area Bob on Giants Twitter heard the Giants have made a 6-year, $200 million offer to Burns, and at least 2 other teams have made offers. Now, I want to preface this conversation with saying, how trustworthy is Bay Area Bob as a source? You know, the only guys I really like to listen to on Twitter are Jeff Passan, and that's it. You know, especially with the stuff with John Heyman last year and other guys in the past. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants do make an offer of this caliber or near this caliber for Corbin Burns, and other teams will be after him as well.
Yeah. The Giants definitely do need to get on that Corbin Burns train. Probably offer him a little bit more money than that. 200 over 6, he's worth a little more, you know, because that's an ace. That's an ace for a while into the season. You know, very low ERA, and that's kind of what you need, especially to go up against the juggernauts that you have with, you know, the Dodgers, you know, the mini juggernauts that you kind of have with, you know, because we have Tatis and the Padres and Machado, and then the young, you know, you have the young Diamondbacks, but you don't have to worry about the Rockies.
No.
you know.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Watch Mike Trout sign with the Rockies or something.
Or get traded to the Rockies or something.
Yeah,
but even then, you still wouldn't have to worry about it. He's only going to be there for 75 games, so.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, since the Giants are out on Juan Soto, it's nice that they get to sit back and say, hey, we're waiting for you, Corbin Burns, and as soon as Soto signs, like, come here. So, you know, obviously the initial offer that's been put out there, which we don't really know if it's been put out there, it's just speculation, but I'm sure that will grow. And Corbin Burns could be a huge part, and he would immediately become the ace of the Giants. And having Logan Webb as their 2 starter would be off the charts, because he would be one of the best two guys in the MLB if we put him in that position.
Yeah. Also, Corbin Burns, especially if you want to earn respect as a pitcher and, hopefully want to make a case for, hey, I should be in the Hall of Fame, is playing in the toughest league, putting up these stats. And, it's like, hey, Logan Webb was kind of doing that and stunning the Dodgers, but the Dodgers went and got better. And, Logan Webb sort of regressed a little bit. I'm not saying he's terrible. I still like him, especially as a former pitcher myself. The way he pitches, I think it is probably some of the hardest to hit,
Definitely.
and he's definitely poised, but still, you do want, if you want to make a case for yourself, you gotta pitch against these big guys. You don't want to play in these small leagues or in just leagues that don't have very many players with very much recognition, aren't hitting 40 dingers a year. You want to play against these guys. It's fun. Every game is gonna be fun.
Definitely, and every game is going to become even more fun if the Padres do what everyone's speculating them to do, and that's signing Roki Sasaki. We'll see if that happens, but they're rumored to be in on Sasaki big time right now.
Yeah, the Padres are definitely going all in. They kind of have to, They're kind of modeling what the Dodgers are doing, except I'd actually say they were throwing money first. Because they did sign like Machado and Tatis to these huge contracts. Like they're giving Darvish money. They're trading for Soto, so they're a little more aggressive on that front. But then I think the Dodgers kind of realized, oh, okay, cool, we can do it. A little more calculated than you can, and they end up winning out. But still, they're the Padres. If it's not the Dodgers, they're the scariest team in the league. So yeah, like being in a Roki Sasaki like that's gonna turn some heads, and it's gonna be fun to watch, teams play against them, and especially like the Giants. If you want to get aggressive, because this league is gonna get harder, especially as the years go on. Old school does not always win out.
Well, think about it from Sasaki's perspective too. He's coming from Japan. Obviously, immediately he's linked to the Dodgers. That's just what's going to happen for the next couple decades if you're coming from Japan. But he is coming into a situation, hey, like, let's say he does join the Dodgers. They just got Blake Snell. They have Shohei Ohtani coming back to pitch. They have Tyler Glasnow coming back from injury. Roki Sasaki doesn't want to come into the MLB and be a 4 or 5 starter. No, he's a big name guy, and he deserves to go to a team where he's going to be the ace. And if he goes to San Diego, he'll immediately become the ace of that team, and I think the Padres fans will absolutely love him. He'll also be...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. But also, you have to earn your way to becoming an ace. You don't just become an ace, but without the recognition, without you pitching hard in tough games and late innings. And unfortunately, baseball is a gentleman's game, and respect is earned and not given. And obviously, like, you do want to say, hey, like, I'm this big guy, but you also have to think about it, like, Roki Sasaki is younger than a lot of the guys in the clubhouse. Like, a lot of the guys in the clubhouse, he's a kid to a lot of these guys, and he's a kid to a lot of the pitchers too. Especially a kid from a different country. He doesn't speak Spanish. He doesn't speak English. But I'm not sure. So, how it's just how is it going to translate to this Dominican prospect who probably had to flee on a boat to Cuba or to Florida or to Mexico, just to get his family out. Like what's his respect? He's been in the league 4 or 5 years. So again, like if you want stardom, you kind of have to earn it. It's not the NFL where okay, you're drafted and we're going to hand you the keys to the house instantly. You get to make do with what you can, but no, you got to earn that.
I think he has earned a little bit, especially in the World Baseball Classic. I think that's definitely where, he did get roughed up a little bit by Team USA, but he's proved that he can be on the same stage as the best players in the major leagues. Mm-hmm. He is so young. He's in his early 20s. He goes to the Padres. Maybe he starts out as the number 2, but he'll be right behind their number one, who's his teammate on the national team in Japan, Yu Darvish. So it would be good for him to have a veteran mentor like that. And then, hey, Yu Darvish hands him the keys, passes the torch, and he becomes the guy eventually. So I could definitely see Sasaki going to the Padres and making a big impact for San Diego in the future to come.
Yeah. Also, the Giants should try to go for Sasaki. He's a good pitcher, mind you. He's young. He is young. Like in the WBC, I was like, okay, well, this kid's great. He, throws 101. He's like what 6'2", 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
He has a crazy curveball. But I also was seeing a lot of inconsistencies that align more with age rather than, age and experience rather than, just how good you are in your talent. And so he's going to need to, work on it a bit. But again, hey, why not sign a big ticket item? Why not sign Roki Sasaki? You can have Sasaki, you can have Lee, you can have Kim, you can have all these guys. The thing is, you just have to open up your checkbook. And, the thing is, like, a flight to Japan's only $500 round trip, So I mean, hopefully that can be like, hey, if you want to go home, it's only $500. We're going to pay you $200-300 million to do it. So.
Oh yeah, totally. it would be a very big signing, and obviously I hope he goes to the Giants if we miss out on Corbin Burns. But who knows? We'll see what happens. But the Giants, although they haven't signed any big free agents yet, they have finally made a hiring outside of the organization. What I mean by this is they've hired Hadi Rod from the Pittsburgh Pirates to become the new pro scouting director. Now, this is a big thing for the Giants and Buster Posey because so far all they've done is sign Randy Wynn, who has been in the organization. Today they signed Oscar Bernard, who we'll talk about a little bit later, who's also an external hire. But before that, all of their moves had been from inside the organization and kind of comfortable moves. Bobby Evans, for example. So I'm glad that Buster is kind of branching out here and saying, hey, let's go get someone from another organization that has a different perspective that can come in and help our team win.
That was a good signing. You definitely do want to get guys out of your organization, especially after kind of clearing house. It is good to have that experience, but just the outside experience. The Pirates, they're kind of a young, hot team. You'd expect them to be in contention within the next 2 or 3 years. They have that big ace, they got from LSU, who's dating the fine gymnast,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just that guy. But, you understand, that team, they have O'Neal Cruz, They have, I forgot his name, but I can describe him, though. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're a younger team. They have that younger vision. The Blue Jays kind of were leading with that, with just being these young, hot teams. The Pirates definitely were next because they got a lot of prospects. But yeah, again, you do want to be a contending team, and Hadi Rod seems like the guy, if you want to clean up your farm system, that is the cheapest way to honestly win a championship.
And as the pro scouting director, he's going to be that guy that comes in and says, hey, he's going to take a look at the major league guys and the minor league guys to potentially trade for or sign as free agents. So he'll be a big part of decisions to come for the Giants' future, and his job starts now, especially since they just hired him. He actually might have been a part of the Joey Bart trade to the Pirates from the Giants because he was in a similar role with the Pirates at that time. So that's just kind of fun to think about. We don't want Joey Bart back, so you guys can keep him. We'll take Patrick Bailey and take our money to the house. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Joey Bart that was a disappointment.
He was supposed to be the chosen one, but I'm so glad we ended up getting Patrick Bailey. That was one of the good things Farhan Zaidi did. And speaking of Farhan Zaidi, almost welcome back to the Dodgers, Chad, because he's been talking to them about a front office role as of recent. And does this surprise me? Nope, because that's basically saying to the Giants, hey, We let you guys have him as the general manager. You know, you had that nice little season, but guess what? In 2021, we lost in the playoffs to the Dodgers. Farhan then made a bunch of questionable moves and is returning back to LA. It seems like you guys had a little guy on the inside for a couple of years there.
I would say no, but what I am gonna say is that I actually would welcome Zaidi back because we had back-to-back rookie of the year. You know, our farm system was just churning out players that you're like, where the F do we get this guy? Where the hell did Max Muncy come from? You know, it's like Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger. You know, it's like, where are these guys coming from? You know, like Alex Verdugo, fan favorite. You know, where are these guys coming from? But yeah, you know, he definitely was in charge of that. I think the Giants, the Dodgers want him back just because they want, you know, to kind of build up the farm system. Because again, these guys they're signing, these big ticket guys are kind of getting expensive, and you know, you can only really have so many $300 million guys, you know, on the field at one time. You know, You got to have some fillers, and those fillers also need to live up to it. So, you know, he's going to be great because, again, look at the success the Dodgers had from 2014 to 2018. You know, they're in the World Series for 2 years, you know, before that. For 2 years within that. You know, they're in the NLCS and NLDS. You know, those appearances were regular. You know, they went from Don Mattingly to Dave Roberts, and it was like success obviously like turned around for him. You know, it was actually I wouldn't say success turned around for him, but it got a lot more consistent. You know, especially with the manager change, because that's difficult.
Definitely.
You know, so hey, you know, welcome back.
Farhan, even though he wasn't with the team in 2020 and 2024, he had his fingerprints all over those World Series teams, and I think he's comfortable in Los Angeles, and that's going to be a big asset, especially since has less responsibility going just to a front office role. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm assuming it will in a couple of days as they've been in serious talks. Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit earlier, Oscar Bernard was just hired as an assistant hitting coach today for the Giants, actually like 20 minutes before we started recording this, so I'm glad we waited a little bit to get that news. He was a part of Bob Melvin's staff with the Padres in 2023. He worked with the Padres last year as well. So who knows? You know, it seems like another comfortable move, even though it technically is an external hire, but lots of ties to Bob Melvin, so that could be pretty helpful for the Giants coming into 2025.
Yeah, you know, the Padres were a big hitting team, especially as hiring a hitting coach from the Padres. You know, that's good because the Giants aren't known for hitting the big home runs. They're kind of known for good defense, as they've kind of been known for the past decade, and you know, a home run every now and then, you know, but not big time. Because again, they have a hard park to hit in, so you're not going to expect it a whole lot, and they do play 90 games within that park.
Yeah.
But you know, hey, it doesn't hurt to add some power. It doesn't hurt to, you know, have guys that, you know, did coach, you know, Tatis, did coach, you know, these big home run hitters. So hey, you know, welcome to the staff.
Yeah, welcome to the team. Hopefully we can get a 30 home run hitter, as I've been talking about for forever. And who knows, we'll see. Hopefully by the time we're recording next week, we have a Hyeseong Kim. I'm sure Juan Soto will have signed by the next time we record this podcast, so we'll have a lot to talk about there. But overall, that's all I had on my list. Thank you very much for tuning in. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We'll have those in the description below. But thank you very much.